The Athodai is a fairly unassuming secondary pistol, but it comes with a pretty cool unique trait. Weak point kills with its primary fire increase fire rate by 100%, decrease recoil by 100%, and give you perfect ammo efficiency for 8 seconds. This combined with its relatively high crit chance and decent damage per shot actually make it a very solid secondary. But wait, there is more. Enter Pain Points, a new augment that you can get from Nightwave, which on a weak point hit grants you 60% weak point damage for 5 seconds, stacking up to 10 times, for a grand total of 600% weak point damage. This makes it one of the best sharpshooter secondary weapons in the game. Or does it? Well, let's give it a shot and find out, shall we? This goes all the way up to 60% per stack, right? Wow, that's a lot of damage. That's gonna work so tremendously well with Overdrive, because you get fire rate, ammo efficiency, and no recoil as well. Well, let's get it in. Initially I was just like, yeah, Deadhead obviously, but I don't know if it's actually worth it. I'm not entirely sure how the damage multiplication works on this anymore. I should probably read up on it, but I don't know, we get a lot of damage, weak point damage from the mod, we don't need the negative recoil, but then again we don't need much base damage either because we're getting 600%. So I guess we just stick with Deadhead, and if it seems like it's not doing much, we can always change it to something else. Let's get Diffusion, then let's run Lethal Torrent for some extra fire rate, and Galvanized Shot. Galvanized Crosshairs is an absolute no-brainer here, since our damage is going to be pretty mediocre on non-headshot hits. That's also slapping primed target crackeroo. Actually, I'm not entirely sure about Galvanized Shot. The status chance is pretty low, and I kind of just want to go big damage. Like, yeah, that's way too much extra damage. I would love to run primed convulsion as well, but I don't want radiation. Yep, I think we'll drop Galvanized Shot, so let's get that out of there to make space for more elemental damage. Let's move pain points up there for now. And then we run primed convulsion and get corrosive. For now, just pistol pestilence, but eventually I would like to run pathogen rounds. Let's see what it do. Bloody hell, that's smooth. That no recoil is definitely... Ooh. Oh! Well, damn, that's some big damage. I completely forgot how nice this feels. It's kind of like the Plinks, but full auto. And very angry. It's like a very angry Plinks, basically. You might be tempted to go for Acuity here, but I think that's a bad call. Because the weak point damage is basically a drop in a bucket because we're getting 600%. So extra 350 isn't going to make that big of a difference. And while we would get some extra crit chance, I don't think it's worth losing multi-shot, so I think Acuity is actually a bad call in this case. Herald isn't going to help as much as with other setups, but I think it's still going to be pretty mad. Come on, boy. Prime for Papa. Good lad. Dude, that is... Like, this is Steel Path. I checked. I had to double check because it does not feel like Steel Path. They are dying way too fast. This is basically Acuity without Acuity and the annoying downsides of Acuity. Because, like, yeah, you do less damage on a body shot, right? You still get less damage, but not so much less that it feels bad. I like it. I'm generally not a big fan of Acuity, but this I like. It rewards good play with big damage, but it doesn't kick you in the balls if you just accidentally miss a headshot. That's what Acuity does, is that, oh, the enemy has big shoulder pads and you can't hit their head, well, you have no damage, no crit, and no multi-shot, because fuck you, that's why. Absolutely terrific, my dudes and dudettes. Absolutely terrific. I think this is probably the best weapon to onboard someone onto some more accurate sharpshooter style guns. So, you know, something like the Nell or, you know, whatever Acuity setup. This is perfect, just perfect. Ooh, that is pretty spicy. Pretty spicy indeed. Though I'm not very surprised. It has all the right ingredients you would want for an Acolyte killing weapon, so the fact that it killed it fast, not a big shocker. Okay, let's finagle this around a little bit so we can squeeze in pathogen rounds. So let's move the D down here. And then we shall reformat into a no, actually, you know what? Aha! We shan't do that. We shall move the D into the Exilis and borrow the dash. Hey, look at me remembering things. Bam. I guess unranked mutation just in case won't hurt. I know I've said this before, but the thing I like about this the most is how damn smooth it is. It just feels nice. It's also quite impressive how strong the weapon is, considering it's just a pure crit build. That's quite rare nowadays. I can't think of many weapons where a pure crit build would perform this well. Usually you want to go with some amount of hybridization so that you can at least run Condition Overload, but Athodai, no, just big bangs all day. I guess all the weak point shenanigans balances it out. I almost forgot this is a secondary fire as well, actually. It's actually kind of cool. It fires out the rest of your mag, you know, pretty standard, but it does it in like a conal beam. However, and they did this deliberately, which is a big bummer, it's disabled when you have the buff, the overdrive buff from your primary fire. So you can't like get the buff with the primary and then with all that ammo efficiency, fire out the beam, which to me would be pretty cool. I don't know, does that not make sense? Like, you know, use the primary fire to get the buff and then fire out the secondary fire with all that ammo efficiency and stuff. But anyway, I think we're pretty much done, so let's finish the mission and wrap it up. So, here's the build that we ended up with on the Athodai utilizing the new Pain Points augment. In the end, the arcane we chose was secondary Deadhead because it just fits. Gives you some headshot multiplier, some base damage. It's just really nice and easy to stack. For mods, we have Galvanized Diffusion and Lethal Torrent for a bunch of multi-shot and a bit of extra fire rate, the new Pain Point Augment for a ton of weak point damage, Galvanized Crosshairs for crit chance, Primed Target Cracker for crit damage, and then we have Primed Heated Charge, Pathogen Rounds, and Primed Convulsion for an absolute truck ton of corrosive and heat damage. Now, while I do have unranked pistol ammo mutation in the Exiles, you really don't need it, so you can save yourself the adapter and just run it blank, because unless you're a complete banana and you can't hit a headshot to save your life, your ammo is going to be fine. I also want to point out that I was using Arcane Avenger throughout the entire video, so I had some extra crit chance that you might not have, so if you're not critting quite as much as I did in this video, this is why. And finally, we also can't forget about Harold, my priming focused hound that primes code via magnetic heat, impact, puncture, and radiation, with the code coming from coolant leak, so you can't see it here. Harold isn't as helpful here as he would be on another setup that utilizes condition or condition overload, but having Viro and magnetic on the enemies is still very beneficial. This is probably my favorite quote-unquote sharpshooter setup, you know, a setup that requires you to hit weak points consistently to work well. It's basically Acuity Light with none of the annoying downsides that come with running Acuity. With this, it's not a big deal if you miss a few headshots or an enemy gets crowd controlled while facing away from you, or they have giant shoulder pads so their head is really hard to hit. The damage is obviously not going to be quite as good if you're body shotting the enemy, and you're not going to be stacking all your various buffs either, but it will still do enough damage to take the enemy down, even in Steel Path. So yes, I would highly recommend you get the Athodai as well as the new Pain Points Augment and give them a shot. They're terrific. And as always guys, I thank you very much for watching and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Then I would also like to extend a special thank you to all the channel members. Thank you very much guys, I really appreciate your support, it means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.